Why would people go with you rather than somebody else? That's really the only question.
Hello and welcome to episode 80 of the Smart Agents podcast. My name is Michael Walter and I'll be your host. In today's episode, we're joined by Dmitrii Kustov, founder and marketing director of RegexSEO, to talk all about how real estate agents can differentiate themselves with online marketing and personal branding. In an industry that relies so heavily on personal interaction and word-of-mouth advertising, how you separate yourself from the crowd and actually advertise those differentiating factors comes down to a few key points. Throughout our conversation with Dimitri, we talk all about why real estate agents need to focus on their personal brand rather than relying on the brokerage brand, why advertising what you specialize in is so important, and how to use social media to locate your target audience. Now, before we get on to the day's featured interview, make sure to subscribe to the Smart Agents podcast. You can find the show on all major podcasting platforms such as Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, and now Amazon Music. Also, as you can see if you're watching this on YouTube, make sure to subscribe to the Smart Agents YouTube channel. Click the bell to get notifications when each new episode is uploaded. And lastly, if you or someone else on your team has an inspirational story or real estate tip to share with our community, send us a message at feedback@smartagents.com. We're always on the lookout for new stories to share. All right, let's get on to the day's featured interview with Dmitrii Kustov. I really enjoyed our conversation and his great tips and hope you do as well. Really, the way I like to start everything out is if you could just introduce yourself to me a little bit, who you are and what you do.
Well, hello there. My name is Dmitrii Kustov, and I am the founder and currently in the role of Marketing Director at RegexSEO. We are a full service digital marketing agency, and we're based out of Houston. Of course, with COVID, we got spread out throughout. And actually, before COVID, we were pretty much 100% of our people were in Houston area. Now it's probably about 5% or so of people in Houston area. And we do anything and everything required for any business or a company to increase their online market share. And that can be from as simple as creating a website if a business doesn't have any, to a full blown out marketing strategy, including every kind of channel from SEO to email marketing to social media to even something offline like proper tracking of radio ads or TV ads and so on and so on. So our goal is to take any company, any business from a zero or wherever they are at in their customer or in their company journey to new heights. So there we go.
Right. And it's not, I always use the term in today's world, but really online marketing is something that people should have been doing for a long time now.
Yes.
It's in a lot of cases, they're just not doing it well, or, because I know if I'm looking for a product or any kind of product online, even on Amazon, if I go and check out, if I find a product, I'm going back to try to find that website to make sure that there's a legit company behind it. And,
right.
So how have you seen everything change over the last several years?
Well, COVID had brought in a lot of changes to even minds of business owners and companies, because everybody was kind of forced to go online, and many businesses and companies realized that, well, without having that online presence, you basically don't exist. And in that regard, it was very helpful, because up until that point, a lot of folks did not really think about marketing online as a thing they had to do, and COVID kind of opened up their eyes. So in terms of that was a huge change. There was a huge influx of demand for digital marketing services. And in terms of kind of generic changes in the industry, the idea was always the same, especially with if you're talking about organic search or Google or anything like that. It's about presenting or providing the best user experience and providing the best solutions for whatever people are looking for. And it's not really just about Google or search engines, but if you think about it, the purpose of a proper company is exactly that. So through marketing, any type of marketing, the goal is to spread the word. So as long as you take that as a main goal, in terms of how can I provide the best, the most value to your potential clients, customers, then you're going to succeed in the marketing world, or in marketing the company.
Right. And, for our audience specifically, we are a lot of real estate professionals. Mm-hmm. And that industry has, traditionally been a very, referral based and word of mouth based business. But in the last several years, I'm going to be looking online I might get a referral of an agent, mm-hmm. but the first place I go is online to see, what this person has to offer. And in a lot of cases, they have websites that might be provided for them, but there's no picture. There's nothing there for me to really, dive into them. So how have you seen that in, the real estate industry kind of change?
Right. So real estate industry is a kind of its own animal. And you can't really compare real estate to anything else. It's very different. As you said, it's based heavily on referrals. It's based heavily on kind of a face-to-face contact. And especially so, one of the, not problems, but one of the big differentiating factors is that there are websites like Zillow and Realtor.com and so on that kind of, in a sense, market a real estate agent instead of real estate agent marketing themselves. So through that historically, most real estate agents, they just rely on that and referrals, and that's it. And therefore, whenever you start talking to real estate people about kind of, have you ever done any kind of marketing of any sorts for yourself? Have you, as simple as whenever a house closes, do you have a specific like a Facebook page or something for your real estate business? Maybe just, first name, last name, realtor, or something like that. Do you post pictures of houses that's gone on the market? Do you post pictures or some kind of testimonials or reviews with people when they close the house? Do you do any kind of push, or do you do any kind of just effort in terms of exposing your brand, which in most cases is just yourself, to more people online? And in a lot of cases, the answer is no. And because of that idea of, well, if I work for Keller Williams, they're going to do everything for me. They're going to do a little bit, just enough to keep you on. But if you want to get to that next level, you have to start exploring. And especially nowadays with the rise of social media, of all of the short snippet content, like the Snapchats and TikToks and so on, I've seen a lot of real estate agents that are utilizing those avenues to help themselves, because it's so quick and easy to create short little content. Hey, I have this house for sale. It's here and there. Here's the features, or maybe make it much more interesting. And I've seen a couple channels that are like on TikTok, I think there's this guy, he's actually does home inspections. He's not even a real estate person. And he just shows kind of something weird or interesting on something he hasn't seen before. And I've seen realtors take the same idea and create a channel based on some cool features or something that is uncommon. And through that, people like the content because everybody likes to look at cool stuff, and they just expose their own name. So next time you think, if you're in the area where that agent is working, next time you want something cool for yourself, like a house with some kind of cool feature, well, guess we're going to call, right? So the idea is fairly simple. It's just, unfortunately, real estate industry, real estate people are not investing a lot of time or effort into just putting fuel on the fire.
Yeah. Yeah. I think there's always, there's the idea everybody knows that they should be doing it.
Right.
It's always that I'll get to it when I have time. And everybody knows more time's never going to be added to that clock.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. And again, going back to that idea that whatever company I work for, they're going to do everything for me. No, they're going to do just enough to keep you on. And because in a sense, they're incentivized for you to make more money or for you to sell more, but they're not interested in necessarily you making more money. If that makes sense, right?
Yeah, they're not going to set you up with a whole personal brand that you can then walk away with.
Exactly. Yeah. It's in their interest to grow Keller Williams or whatever that brand is. So yeah, just keep that in mind. And as you mentioned, your own personal brand. If you decide to switch companies, what happens then? Do you have some kind of legs to stand on? Or if you decide to go on your own, do you have some kind of web presence, online presence that you can utilize and not struggle, right? So yeah, it's just you as a real estate agent always have to think about basically your face being your own brand. And the idea is if you're here for a long run, then how can you become one of those known agents in your area?
Right. Some of the websites that I've seen that have, of agents that have been really successful are when you go on their real estate website, it doesn't look like a real estate website, right? It doesn't have, every listing that they have right on the front page. Right. It's really more of a community website and really kind of building up the community that they serve and showing off. Is that something that you suggest when you're building websites to kind of drive, more organic clicks and more clicks to that website?
So as a real estate specialist, you have to think about this. Why would people go with you rather than somebody else? That's really the only question. So are you, as a real estate agent, just happen to be attached to a property, and whenever a potential home buyer, they just look at the property, it just happens to be you who work on that house? Is that the only reason? Or are they homeowners, potential homeowners, home buyers, are they looking for you specifically because of something? And what is that something? Is it, I don't know, there could be, there's like a list of 100 different things that only you can provide. And myself, I'm a homeowner, and we actually just went through a home buying process. And we went through, I think, 5 different real estate agents until we actually found one that was good enough, right? And we were buying in a different state, so we couldn't just drive up. So we needed somebody who were able to do a lot of legwork themselves. And instead of us finding some kind of property we like on Zillow and just calling up the agent to send us some documents, right? So there's small things that add up. And next time, if I have a friend who wants to buy in the same area, I'm going to recommend that person. I'm going to recommend our realtor, for not just because we worked with them, but because that realtor was providing exceptional service, because she went out of her way to do those little extra things. So technically, that's part of the brand. And as a realtor, the realtors listening, as a realtor, you have to think, why and how do you differentiate from others? And you can as simple as write those down or put them on your own website, and you need to kind of push those qualities more and more in order for those qualities to become associated with yourself, meaning your brand. And that's how you grow in the online marketing world. So on the website, it's not about the properties you sell, but rather why would people, home buyers, would want to work with you, and just list out those things that only you can provide. And it could be as simple as personality match. It could be other smaller things, and it could be something really big if you have some kind, I don't know, your own proprietary software or something, right? Right. So, or again, like very small details matter. So yeah, just think about that. And that's how you differentiate yourself.
Right. So, these agents, they really shouldn't, on all these sites, they have, the about me or the about our team. It's not a throwaway section on your website. You should really kind of pack that full as much information, as much detailed information as possible. Exactly.
And really, more or less, the whole website is about you. Again, for some reason, and I guess it's just happened to be historical like that, most real estate websites, they are about properties rather than the people. Or, well, if we're talking about the realtor websites, of course, Zillow's, they are about properties, right?
Right.
So you have to understand that. And whenever you create your own brand as a realtor, whenever you create your own website, that's what you have to think about. Not, I have this nice property, but as a person, I'm horrible, right? No, that's the exact opposite. My goal as a realtor to be such an awesome specialist to find what you're looking for. Even if currently I don't work on that property, I don't have that property in my list, that doesn't matter. My goal is to find you the best fit, or, whatever that is, whatever your kind of goal as a realtor is. And it could be some kind of, I only work on properties that cost over $1 million. I only work on properties that have horses or whatever it is, right? So it just small things like that. And that's what matters, because it's nowadays in the world where there's so many options, as a home buyer, as a user, you want somebody who specializes in what you need. Think about, let's say, when you repair a car. In most cases, you'd rather, let's say you have a Ford or something. In most cases, you would want a Ford specialist to work on Ford rather than a generic mechanic who deals with everything. And the more expensive the property is, the more demanding the requests are, the more specialized you want that person. And that's what literally brand strategy and branding is. It's being different in a positive way.
Right. So when you're working with a client and you're developing that brand strategy, what's that initial conversation or checklist to kind of get those wheels turning to say, okay, what exactly are we going to pinpoint on?
There is a whole process which is impossible to kind of explain in a couple of minutes. But the main question will be the differentiation, right? How are you different? And whenever we work with our clients, that conversation kind of starts opening up whatever is deep down. And sometimes, actually quite often, you come down, when you have that conversation with the prospect, you very quickly find out that they don't have a differentiation, and that's bad. And that's when you get that but that's when you see the difference between very successful realtors versus realtors that are kind of doing it as almost not a hobby, but I'll get by for now, and while I'm looking for a real job, right? And that's the thing.
Yeah. So, and I think that is, anytime you're asking those questions, that, what really separates you from people? That's a pretty deep question and a pretty personal question that can take a while for people to come up with, an answer to that. So when you do get those people or those clients that maybe don't have a very well-defined brand or anything that separates them, is it then you have two choices? You either need to find something else to do, or we need to come up with one pretty quickly.
Exactly. Yeah. So if you're in real estate, I mean, really any business, if you're in a business for a long term, you definitely have to have a differentiator of some sorts. Because again, otherwise it becomes like a service for everybody, yet nobody. There's that saying, it's for everyone, but yet no one in particular. And you don't want to be that, because again, it's going to be very difficult to stand out in what you mentioned. You have like 3,000 registered real estate agents in your area. Well, how do you stand out? And just being in like a small area doesn't make that much difference. The competition is fierce. So yeah, you have to have that kind of a catch-on factor of some sorts. And again, it could be very simple, it could be very elaborate, but you always have to think about that. And the more you can prove that that's exactly what you do, that's how you're different. Let's say, I don't know, working with me, you will always save at least $1,000, whatever. Well, in that case, do you have proof of some sorts, reviews, testimonials, some kind of, I don't know, numbers to show that that's in fact true, and so on and so on. So the more you can the more proof you can provide that that's what you're known for, the better your brand is going to be, the quicker you're going to grow.
Right. So now, say we've built our brand, we kind of know what we're trying to market. Where do you start marketing? There's so many different avenues to go in now, especially in the online world.
Right.
You have all your social media marketing, you have your ad placements on websites, all that kind of stuff. And then you have your outside, your radio and television. Right. Where do you really kind of start with the online marketing?
Right. So that's all a part of brand strategy. And the first step, you always have to think about who your audience is. And are you kind of specializing in certain, maybe an age group, because of wherever you're located, or because it happened that most of your previous clients were, I don't know, older or very young people or whatever it is, right? So you have to think where that audience lives. So if you, let's say your target audience is people over 50 and you start advertising on TikTok, it's not going to make any sense. And vice versa. If your audience are like first young people, young first home buyers, then you shouldn't be advertising in newspaper type of thing, right? So, you shouldn't advertise in newspapers anyway, but you get the idea, you get the point. So you always have to have that match of who you target and where they are. And after that, it's just a matter of budgets, really, because obviously TV ads, radio ads are very, very expensive, but things like social media, you can post for free. Even if you're talking about advertising on social media, it's fairly inexpensive as well. So find where your target audience is in online world, and then just hammer down on it. And that's kind of the formula, really. And after that, when you have budgets, then you can start exploring and testing different avenues, different other platforms, and invest into more expensive things in terms of marketing and advertising. But because real estate is such a visual industry, it's definitely, social media is going to be your friend. And after that is just a matter of being able to show the properties wherever those properties are, which typically, again, Zillow's of the world, Realtor.com of the world, they kind of take care of that.
Right. And when it comes to, the social media marketing and that kind of stuff, what do you suggest for people to do to make sure that they are reaching that target audience? Because I know a lot of times people think, oh, I'm just posting this out and 95% of my followers are from somewhere else in the world. Mm-hmm. But what are the things that they can do to make sure that the people in their community are seeing them?
Right. So if we're talking about advertising, it's fairly easy. Whenever you do any kind of advertising, there are literally filters that you set up and you tell, I want to show my ad to people in this area only that are over in this age group and so on and so on. So it's that the advertising is fairly straightforward and easy. The more intricate part is if you're not talking about advertising, but rather marketing. And if we're talking about social media, you have to think again about where, in which groups, on what platforms your audience, your target audience is. And then you need to become an activist in those groups, in those communities, in those circles. So again, let's say your audience is over 50. I'm sure there's tons of groups that are, I don't know, like about knitting or something, people where you would expect the people over 50 would be, right? Maybe there is some kind of like a Facebook group that is about activities that typically older folks enjoy. Sure, become an activist there, and obviously don't spam. You don't just start posting your real estate properties. But instead, just become active in that community, kind of become a known name. And through exposure of the name of the brand, people will start recognizing, oh yeah, I've heard about that person. Oh yeah, I've seen that person. And whenever it's that small seed in the back of the mind that, oh yeah, this sounds familiar. Oh yeah, I know that guy. I know that lady. And that's the idea of kind of marketing. It's be that voice in the back of minds of your potential customers.
Right. I like that idea because, it's one of those things that we've all been told, go to those meetups, go to those happy hours outside of, to network, but you can really take that online and find all those groups that you do personally have an interest in and just get active in it and make sure that your profile shows that you're a realtor.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And one of the things that I would like to bring up really quickly is the idea of providing value. Because I've been to those networking events and meetups and stuff, and it's very, well, to me, it's disappointing, but as a marketer, but as a user, it's kind of annoying. Just because you met somebody at a networking event does not mean that they are the best fit for you. So again, you have to, as a realtor, you have to think about who your audience is, what your differentiating factors are, and how you give people value by showing it off somehow, and whatever that is. So just being somewhere present doesn't mean that that's all you need, right? And kind of the idea of helping people through whatever it is. And when you start helping your target audience, that's how you get exposure, because that's where referrals come in. That's where people start knowing in that community about you. Right.
Yeah, definitely. Those meetups, I mean, that's the handshake. There's no, it's not the signature on the dotted line. That's the very beginning of that conversation.
Right. Exactly.
Well, I really appreciate you taking the time to talk to me this morning. What, you were at the first quarter of 2022. What's the next year looking like for you guys?
We have big plans. Hopefully it's all going to come true. We're expanding in terms of like this, the industries we serve. We are expanding in terms of areas we serve. And but at the end of the day, it's all about providing value. It's all about doing a great job. And if anybody ever needs any help with branding or online marketing, reach out.
Yeah. So tell me, how do they reach out to you guys?
So the easiest way would be to go to our website, regexseo.com, or if they would like to, anybody really can just reach out to me directly and ask whatever questions. On social media, I'm on Twitter, LinkedIn. My Twitter handle and LinkedIn handle is Digital Spaceman. We are from Houston, NASA. The idea of digital marketing is reaching new heights, reaching new horizons. So it all fits within the brand. So yeah, Digital Spaceman on social media.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to talk with us today.
Thank you so much for having me.
I want to thank Dimitri for taking the time to speak with us today, and I'm a true believer in what he says about the difference between the successful agents and those that are really struggling. It really comes down to identifying what makes you different and sharing that with your market. So once again, if you think you or someone else on your team has an awesome story or a tip to share with our community, send us a message at feedback@smartagents.com. Well, that wraps things up for this episode, but remember, follow the show wherever you listen to podcasts and make sure to subscribe to the Smart Agents YouTube channel. Again, I'm Michael Walter, and we'll see you on the next episode.